Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. I'm Jamie and today we're going to be going to Dublin for a Guinness. We'll be flying from Gatwick, taking a pit stop in Dublin before returning to Gatwick later this evening, all of which will be on Ryanair, and there's some surprises along the way. This trip took place before the pandemic, so don't be alarmed by the lack of social distancing, lack of mask wearing and the fact that we're flying from the South Terminal today. Having snuck out of work for an early finish, I took the 30-minute ride from London to Gatwick on the train and headed through the rather quiet South Terminal check-in area and up to the security checkpoint. Through with no hassle, it's down on into duty free and into the departure lounge. The lounge here in the South Terminal is much more compact than that of the North and features two levels. Downstairs you'll find many shops with the usual array of brands from Harrods, Boots and Dixon's Travel. And on the upper level you'll encounter some of the food offerings and a few more shops, which include Next, Wetherspoons and a Pret. If you've flown from the North and the South Terminal before, which one do you prefer? I'd love to know down in the comments. I like the compact nature of the South Terminal, but the North does feel much more spacious. I guess both have their pros and cons. Our flight today is FR123 to Dublin, due to leave at the same time as the Aer Lingus flight EI-239. Who do you think will get there first? We'll board from Gate 20 today, passing our competing Aer Lingus flight at Gate 11 along the way. I should mention that shortly after I filmed this video, Gatwick did refresh the operations of domestic flights and those travelling in the CTA or Common Travel Area, meaning all flights out of the South Terminal that fall under this bracket now operate from gates in a different part of the terminal. I did in fact use these new gates and this new procedure when I headed out to Dublin later in the year to fly on the Lufthansa A340. There's a link in the top right now and in the description below for you to check out that video once you finish this one. Anyway, back to today's flight over to Dublin, and when I arrived at Gate 20 most passengers had already boarded, so I quickly went through the gate area and out onto the apron. Echo Papa Delta is today's aircraft, delivered to Ryanair factory fresh in March 2011, making the aircraft almost 8 years old when I boarded. We have the old style Ryanair seats on board. As it's only a short flight, the crew wasted no time in getting to work selling their hot food.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Very short lower parts of the county can be a little yours. Today on board this aircraft we have all the ham and cheese panini.
It looks like Aer Lingus will win the race today, pushing back a few minutes ahead of us.
Captain Philip Harda, we'd both like to welcome you aboard this Ryanair flight to Dublin. Just about ready to go here, just waiting for the last bits of paperwork, should get going very shortly. Shortly, our cabin crew will be starting a safety demonstration. It's not only for your safety, but the safety of those sitting around you, so we kindly ask you to give your full attention for the short duration of the safety demo. Otherwise...
Shortly after we pushed back, and thanks to the maintenance work next to us, we ended up with our rear end over the landscaping. Our taxi out today is to take off on runway 26 left.
Departing out to the west today, and then just a very slight right turn towards Ireland. Flight time is in the region of 1 hour. The weather in Dublin is very similar to the way it is here, temperature of 8 degrees, a little bit grey, and a slight breeze from the west. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us.
out, it's worth mentioning that this was one of the first flights that I decided to film in anticipation of trying to put together a trip report. Hopefully you'll agree that some of my more recent footage and trip reports are a little better than what this one is. What do you think of the safety card stuck onto the seat? I personally don't mind it, and I've always found the legroom on board perfectly acceptable on Ryanair, and in fact you get more than what you do on British Airways. As we start our descent in, I'm reminded I should really try the ferry one day. Now, over 85% of you watching my videos aren't currently subscribed, so if you're one of them, what's stopping you? Subscribe today to make sure you don't miss out on any future videos that I'm posting, and as you're into aviation, do check out the videos already on the channel. I'm sure you'll find something there that you love. As is the norm with the wind here at Dublin, we're landing on runway 28. Now's a good time to talk about that pint of Guinness that I mentioned at the start. You see, in order to catch up with my dad, we often rendezvous in Dublin. For me it's an hour flight from London, and for him it's a 30-minute flight from Manchester. With fares usually around £20 return, it's a much more cost-effective way for either of us to get together, rather than spending £70 plus on a train to either city. Speaking of my dad, here he is landing, the next flight after mine. Providing there's no delays, we often arrive at the same time, me taking the 14:50 and arriving at 4:15, and he taking the 15:15 flight, landing at around 4:15 just like me. I'll really miss these CityJet Avro RJ85 aircraft. I was lucky enough to fly on one just before the first lockdown. Again, video in the description below and in the top right now.
Cabin crew just outside and open doors, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dublin.
It's as gusty as ever heading down the steps, so let's get inside. Is that gate 123 for flight 123? Coincidence? Maybe. All Ryanair flights use Pier D at Dublin, so I held back for a few minutes to watch my dad's aircraft park up and disembark. Now we're here, it's through immigration, and outside I'll just step on the Irish soil, before we head back in to where we just came from. Success looks like a pint of Guinness. And we're at the gate just in time to see my aircraft arrive. I'll be on the 7:30 flight back to Gatwick, whereas my dad's got another hour to wait before his 8:30 departure back into Manchester. Boarding across the ramp and to the back of the queue before the real fun begins. Hello, EI-FOO. All seated on this Sky Interior aircraft and we're ready to go. Or so I thought. The first signs of trouble were the crew acting like something was up, and the fact that we didn't move for a while once the doors had closed. 10 minutes or so in, the front door was reopened and the guard had boarded. At this point, the passengers were all wondering what was up. Rumour was rife around the cabin, as we'd had no update from the crew on the situation, and the guard had then entered the flight deck. From my seat at the rear of the aircraft, I couldn't really hear any of the discussion at the front of the plane. But then I received a video from my dad who was watching all the action unfold from inside the terminal. Outside there were plenty of blue lights turning up to the party, something a little bit concerning when you're not quite sure what's going on. Eventually though, after a good half an hour the guard had left and all became clear. According to the flight deck, some of the hold luggage had been incorrectly screened or not screened at all before being placed on board the aircraft, resulting in a security alert against this flight. Nothing more was said and everything seemed to be resolved, so we headed out for takeoff. Let's take a look at these newer seats, which give a little bit more legroom, but I do find they're less padded than the previous generation of seats on Ryanair, and this makes them a little bit more uncomfortable. The increased room though does make me prefer them to the older seats. The rest of the flight was uneventful, and we had the usual trolley service before starting our final approach on into Gatwick. Back on the ground, and thank you for staying to the end of the video. We're taking the bus to enter the terminal today, something which, as I said earlier, you no longer need to do thanks to the previously mentioned gate update at Gatwick. I hope you enjoyed this video and this extended trip report and all the dramas that it brought with it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as not to miss out on future uploads, and feel free to give the video a like. Until the next one, thank you for watching and we'll see you next time.